Hello and welcome back to another video. If you're a returning subscriber, thank you so much for all the love and support that you show me on a regular basis. If you're new here, welcome. My name is Cheyenne. I'm the face behind and founder of Soulful Soup. Today's video is going to be on perfectionism. One of the many hats that I wear is perfectionism coach. And so I'm gonna go over what is perfectionism, who it affects the most, how you can deal with it, and what differentiates me from other perfectionism coaches. So, how do I define perfectionism? I define perfectionism as any sort of mindset blockage that has you thinking that there is only one way to get to your goal. This means that there's no room for creativity, there's no room for thinking outside of the box, there's no room for pivoting, and you end up subscribing yourself to a bunch of meaningless tasks that get you further away from the goal, and you are so dedicated to achieving that goal by this one certain way that you just end up spinning your wheels over and over and over again. And speaking of wheels, to better, describe this or give a visual, I created the perfectionism cycle on a wheel. So I'm gonna pop that graphic up now so that you can follow along with me as I talk through each of the phases. So there's 5 phases of the perfectionism cycle. The first stage is the planning stage. The second is execution. The third is setbacks. The fourth is burnout. And the fifth and final stage is rock the fuck bottom, sis, okay? So let's get into what each of these phases are in more detail. And at the end, I'm gonna give a couple tips on how you can combat those negative aspects of perfectionism. So the first phase of the perfectionism cycle is the planning process. This is when you are working so hard. You've got all these ideas bubbling about. You're like, oh my God, I know that I can do this. It doesn't matter what this is in reference to. This can be financial, fitness-wise, spiritual-wise, career-wise. This could literally pertain to anything in life. You just have all these ideas in your head and you're so excited. Nobody has worked harder than Kris Jenner until this moment, because you are sitting there and you're planning out in your head every single little thing that you need to do. One of the pitfalls that I see a lot of people making during the planning process is they get too caught up in the minutia. They get too caught up in the finer details. So when you're goal setting, you want to make sure that you are planning with the end in mind. And what I mean by that is, okay, here's your goal, and now let's reverse engineer and figure out what metrics we need to hit. And after we've got the metrics that we need to hit, let's brainstorm some ways that we can hit those metrics. And I say brainstorm some ways that we can hit those metrics because, like I said, you don't want to get bogged down with trying to do the same unfruitful task over and over and over again. So let's move on to the second phase of the perfectionism cycle. The second phase of the perfectionism cycle is the execution stage, or the execution phase. Okay, this is when you've got your perfect plan already in place, and now you're actually trying to do the things that you said you were gonna do so that you can get the desired result, right? Now, early on, this looks like you being super dedicated. You're on track, you're not missing any metrics, you're not missing any task, you're dotting your I's, you're crossing your T's, and you have this sense of heightened self-esteem because you're like, oh, I'm that bitch. Like, I'm getting shit done. Like, nobody can stop me. Like, ooh, I've been working out consistently for 3 days, girl. Like, I'm changing my whole life. And then the inevitable happens. So let's go ahead and talk about the third stage, or the third phase of the perfectionism cycle. The third phase of the perfectionism cycle is when you have a setback. Now, this can be both internal and external, either or. What I mean by that is something happens that gets you off track. So up until this point, you've been very consistent. You've been doing everything that you think you need to do to get that goal, right? But then your aunt dies, or a close friend has an altercation with her boyfriend, or I don't know, you oversleep and you missed all of your alarms so you didn't get up to work out today. I don't know why fitness is like coming to my mind in these examples. Maybe because I literally just got done working out, but this is what it looks like. You can, fill in the blanks, fill in the details for your specific goal, but this is usually what happens. Something external or internal happens, you get kind of off track, and now you're not really sure how to continue the process. This is usually where a lot of people end up starting completely over instead of keep going. So let's keep going to the next phase of the perfectionism cycle. If you are one of the few people who has not let the setback get to you, you have entered the fourth phase of the perfectionism cycle, which is burnout. You usually hit this phase if you decide to dig your heels in deeper and do it your way anyway, instead of taking a pause and saying, something here isn't right, something here isn't working, let me try to do things a little bit different. So usually this means that you are going even harder in the paint and you're working yourself to the bone. Or as they say, you're burning the candle at both ends. Like you're overworking yourself and you're not seeing any results. This is usually where bitterness seeps in, because you're looking at other people and you're like, damn, I've been doing this for such and such in time and I'm not seeing their results. They've only been here for 3 days or 3 months or whatever. I've been working twice as long as they have and twice as hard as they have. Why are they getting results and I'm not? Like, what's tea? Tell me what's good. Like, what do I need to do? And that's what I'm about to tell you. What you need to do is pivot, okay? Like, that phrase is not just for that one ugly ass episode of Friends. Now, I hope you don't hate me for saying Friends is ugly, but moving on. So this is where you're burned out, you're exhausted, you're tired, like literally anything could make you burst into tears, have a mental breakdown. You probably just need a cheeseburger or whatever your comfort food is. For me, it's tacos and tequila, maybe a little whiskey, possibly a blunt, and then going to nap. There's nothing wrong with indulging in those items, when you're burnt out, just as long as you know that you can stop that burnout. You can stop being on that hamster wheel of doing the same damn thing and getting the same ugly ass results. So let's move along to the fifth phase of the perfectionism cycle. If you made it to the fifth and final phase of the cycle, first of all, I want to give you a round of applause because a lot of people don't make it to this. A lot of people stop at the third phase and they just keep starting over and over again. They don't even hit the burnout. If you hit burnout and rock bottom, this means that you're probably a high achiever. You're probably a high performance type person. Like, you are the person that people look to and say, that's what I want to be like when I grow up. Or people have often given you like the characteristic of being A-type or atypical. It just looks like you have your life so put together, but people don't know in the back of your mind, you are shitting your pants. And probably when you go home at night, you're stressed the fuck out and you are overindulging in alcohol or drugs or sleeping or sex. You're doing something of that nature. I want to be very careful and not use the A word because, yeah. So you're doing something of that nature to numb yourself, ease the pain, and to put up with this persona that other people have projected onto you because they haven't had the successes that you previously had, and they just think that your life is perfect and peachy keen. And yes, I am speaking from experience. So rock bottom is usually where you've done all the planning, you've done all the executing, you have the setbacks and you've bounced back. You've been so fucking resilient. You've experienced the burnout and you've tried literally everything to continue to hit this goal, but you haven't tried hitting the goal by doing different things to get to that goal. So what happens is you have this rock bottom moment where you're like, fuck it, I don't want to do any of this shit. I didn't want this anyway. Maybe I'm not meant to do this. You have those sorts of thoughts and you're just like, let me give it up. And you give up whatever the project is, whatever the goal is, you give it up until you feel inspired or intrigued by something else. And you're like, okay, well, I'm going to start on that. And so what happens is you end up with a bunch of unfinished projects or unachieved goals, or, you know, both of those, some combination of both of those things. And you're looking around, like maybe this manifests in hobbies. So like maybe you're like, okay, I'm going to learn the trombone, and then that doesn't work out for you. So you quit it. And then you're like, ooh, I'm really interested in yoga now. So you are like, I'm gonna get a yoga certification so that I can be a yoga teacher and make all this money being a yoga teacher. And then you drop out the program. Or you move on to, I don't know, you can fill in the blanks for how this looks for you individually, but this is just the framework of how it looks for everyone, right? So in the next part of this video, I'm gonna get into my top 3 tips on how to combat perfectionism. My number 1 tip is to find an accountability partner or a mentor. Now, why do I say or? I say or because I feel like a lot of people conflate the two. They think that an accountability partner is a mentor or a mentor is your accountability partner, and they're not the same thing. So let me break it down. An accountability partner is just someone who is there to support you. And when I say support, what I mean is they're there to listen to you vent, or for you to check in with them and say, yeah, I did this thing, or no, I didn't do this thing. And they aren't there to pass judgment or, you know, reprimand you if you don't hit those targets. They're just there so that you have someone watching you, which makes you, well, not makes you, but a lot of times we think, as humans, think that, oh, well, if someone's watching me, I'm going to do a better job because I'm going to show them. Like, that's the mentality behind why accountability partners work. Now, this is one of the big differences between an accountability partner and a mentor. A mentor has walked the exact path that you've walked. They know exactly what it is that you need to do because they've been there, done that. Got the t-shirt, got the black eye, got the teeth knocked out, got the bloody nose. You get the picture. So I recommend, if you are starting a goal that you've never done before, okay, I'm talking something so big it scares the living fuck out of you. You need to go find someone who's done that exact thing and take as many notes as you can from them. If you can meet with them face to face, in person, virtually, on the phone, or on a Zoom call or whatever, like, do that. So that way you have someone in your back pocket who can tell you what the next steps are. Now, obviously everyone's story is going to be different, so they can't tell you how it looks for your specific situation, but what they can offer you is, okay, this is what I was doing when I was at this point. And, you know, you may tweak the details to make it work for your specific situation, but they can offer that advice, that expertise. Whereas an accountability partner has no expertise in the area. Like, they don't have to be a fitness guru. They don't have to be a money guru. They're, again, just there for support. They've never gone where you've been or never gone to where you want to go, so they can't really offer that advice. They're just there for the moral support. I hope that makes sense. If it made sense, drop me some diamond emojis in the comments. My second tip is to change the how, not the what. And you do this by having regular check-ins. This is why I said get an accountability partner or a mentor as your first tip, because once you have that external piece, someone else watching you, it's like something in your brain kicks on, like, ooh, I really got to get my shit together, right? So let's use a real life example. I'm currently doing a 12-week program, fitness program, and I haven't done a fitness program in years. Like, during the pandemic, I've pretty much just done little workouts on YouTube, I've consistently done yoga with Cassandra or Nico. Shout out to their YouTube channels. If you're into fitness, like definitely go check them out. But you get the point. Like, I have not been in the gym in over 4 years. Like, it's been insane, right? So I was very nervous starting this workout program. However, because I know that I'm not really a morning person, your girl wakes up and doesn't start her day, doesn't start working until about 10 a.m. I'm just keeping it real. So for me to set this goal of doing my workouts at 5 a.m., 6 a.m., 7 a.m., 8, even 9 a.m., that's just unrealistic for me. If I can get the workout done earlier in the day, that's great. That's an added bonus. That's the cherry on top. But I'm not gonna sit up there and beat myself up if I don't get it done. And so if you are struggling with trying to complete a goal the way that you've envisioned yourself completing it in your mind, think outside of the box. Ask yourself, is there another way that I can do this? Is there another time? Are there other people I can talk to? Are there other resources that I have at my fingertips? How can I get it done? I guarantee you, there's someone out there who's done the exact thing that you're wanting to do, and you can ask them for help or take notes if you don't have access to them. You can take notes from them. It's really that simple. Now, if you are wanting to do something that nobody's ever done, like solve world hunger or end world poverty, then you're gonna have to be a trailblazer and rely on your determination to get that shit done instead of your motivation, because you're never gonna be motivated 100% of the time. Today, I was not motivated to do my workout. It's gloomy as fuck outside. It's been raining all day. It's hurricane season here in Houston. You know, it's just, I would rather be in bed cozy with my mans, you know, doing other things, not working out. But I knew that I had to get it done because I made a promise to myself. So I got my ass up. I adjusted my day. My day did not go how I would have wanted my Friday to go, but I didn't let that stop me from getting it done. So on to the third and final tip that I have for you for this video. I have other tips, obviously, because I'm a perfectionism coach, and when I coach individuals one-on-one, we customize it. But to not make this video long AF, I'm gonna keep it simple with just 3 tips. So let's go to the other tip. My final tip for you today is to be mindful of and plan around your weaknesses. Now, this is kind of somewhat similar, the same to the last tip that I gave, but just to be a little bit more specific. So this is a tip that you can use in the planning process. A lot of times when we have a new goal, or we're starting fresh, we're starting a new program, or we're starting a new something, we tend to forget how we've behaved in previous settings and how we've behaved with previous goals. It literally does not matter the goal. Your goal could be to get 100K. Your goal could be to get 10K followers on Instagram. Your goal could be to lose 10 pounds. It literally does not matter. But what I want you to do is sit down and think of all your weaknesses. Like, any weakness that pertains to this goal, but any weakness that also doesn't pertain to the goal. So for example, with me in this workout program, I know I'm not a morning person, so my weakness would be I can't get my ass up out of bed early in the morning to do a morning workout. I choose not to. I enjoy my sleep. I tend to sleep 10 to 12 hours. Like, that's just, it is what it is. And I've tried so many things to force myself to get up. I think I'm getting back to that eventually, but in this season of my life, I'm a late sleeper. So that's one of my weaknesses. Now, this doesn't necessarily have to be something negative. This could just be something that is going to put a hamper on you completing the goal the way that you've envisioned. So in my mind, I would love to be an early morning workout girl. You know, get up, have my green juice, be ready for work by 7:30, 8 o'clock. That sounds wonderful, okay? But I know me, like, my creative juices in my mind doesn't really start to function until after 10 a.m. And a lot of times I'm staying up later in the evening, later at night anyway. So what sense would it make for me to limit my sleep to get up to work out when I need the sleep for my body to do what my body needs to do, for it to look the way, you see what I'm saying? Like it's a domino effect. So be mindful of and plan around your weaknesses so that you're not setting yourself up for failure. Now, if you've gotten to the end of this video and you're like, damn, this all sounds like me, like I need help, I am accepting new coaching clients, only one-on-one. I'm not doing group coaching as of yet anymore. We'll see if I bring it back, but as of now, I'm only offering one-on-one coaching. I will leave all of my booking details in the description box. And yeah, thank y'all so much for tuning in. I love talking about perfectionism. I love talking about healing perfectionism, all of those things. I think what I'm gonna do next, or my next video on perfectionism, is probably gonna be on healing perfectionism. And I took a pause to think about that because I wanted to think about how I was going to say it. Like, a lot of times in this culture, we think of getting rid of perfectionism because it is something that, you know, you shouldn't be bragging about being a perfectionist. And I don't have enough time to get into why you should be bragging about that shit. But what sets me apart from other perfectionism coaches is that I talk about healing it instead of getting rid of it, because I definitely believe that perfectionism has positive traits. It's not just negative. So until next time, I'll see y'all later. Ciao.